we'll take a look at the outright betting just to give people a flavour, and then bring the lads in on terms of what pricing we currently have on matchbook.com. So you can see Manchester City are still the favourites for the Champions League, but a little bit bigger than they were before the World Cup. They're currently 3.1. Bayern Munich are 7.0. PSG 10.5. Liverpool 12.0. Same price as Real Madrid. Napoli 13.5. We'll get to them in a second. Chelsea are 16.0. Spurs 22.0. Benfica 30.0 and Inter 36.0. It's 65 or 55 and bigger the rest. So, Mark, look, firstly, I want to give you props on your Napoli bet and a back to lay option. It was in the back to lay section. 151.0 was widely available throughout, not just on Matchbook, but all the sports books as well. They're in around 13.5. Firstly, I just wanted to get your kind of take on where they're currently at, because you could pick holes in the form in the group stage, perhaps with Ajax and Liverpool in there.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think when the Champions League draw is made for the knockout stages, it's always best to sort of hold fire until February, because a lot can change in football in a couple of months, particularly with a transfer window in between. But on this occasion, we've had a World Cup as well. So I think it's quite interesting when you look at the outright market, because the top 6 or 7, or at least the teams below 20-1 in the market, are either in poor form, or you can pick holes in almost all of them and suggest that they're not quite at their best. So I think that's 7 teams at the top of the market, whereas Napoli are the only ones, the standout side, really playing exceptional football consistently. But the price doesn't do it for me right now at 13.5. There's a reason why they are 13.5 and not probably slightly bigger. Firstly, it's just the luck of the draw, really. They're playing Frankfurt, which is obviously their reward for winning their group. Frankfurt is no gimme whatsoever, though, must be said. That's going to be a tricky tie over 2 legs. But also, if you look at the draw elsewhere, Bayern are playing PSG and Liverpool are playing Real Madrid. That's 4 teams in the top 6 of the market. So we're going to lose 2 of them at this stage. And if you look elsewhere, Club Brugge, Porto, Inter, and Benfica, you're going to get 2 of those teams in the quarterfinals. So if Napoli do progress, you could easily be playing a game against Club Brugge or Benfica, for example, for a place in the semi-final. So that's why they're a little bit shorter than I would probably have them on a normal day. But that's just draw-based. Obviously, destroying Liverpool and Ajax, as you say, was quite incredible, really, the way in which they did it. But the form lines from those 2 performances have to be downgraded a little bit, because we've since discovered that those 2 teams are nowhere near the sky-high levels we probably expected of them from previous campaigns. And also, I would say there's a bit of Serie A tax I think we need to put on Italian teams in the Champions League these days as well. I love my Italian football, but you've got to go a long way back now to see some good, solid, consistent success from the Italians. Milan won it in 2006-07. Only 4 Italian teams have reached the semi-finals since then. That's 4 Italian semi-finalists from a possible 60, which is a 6.5% of all semi-finalists since 2006-07 have been Italian. Obviously, Inter won it in 2010. Juve have been in the final twice, but we basically had no Italian semi-finalists in the last 4 tournaments, and that is a concern. The league has sort of dropped down in standard compared to some of its rivals, but I guess the positives are Napoli are injury-free. They're playing with momentum, belief. There is room to manoeuvre in the title race as well. They are quite clear there, so that potentially they can start to focus on sort of achieving double success. But yeah, I'm just being a little bit snooty about the price, because obviously we got them at a huge price, and now to see them at 13.5, it's kind of a bit like after the Lord Mayor's show, we kind of missed out on the good stuff. So I think there possibly are better prices to attack elsewhere.
Okay, we'll come back to you shortly for your selection. And anyone who's looking to back and lay, Matchbook Betting Exchange is brilliant to lay. They're currently around the 13.5, 14.0 to lay. Adrian, Clarke, over to you. Bayern Munich haven't been pulling up trees in the Bundesliga this season, but you still make them a bet here at around 6.8, 7.0.
Well, following on from what Mark said, I can pick more holes in a lot of the other teams. I think Manchester City are too short, really, in my opinion, given that defensively, I still think they're as vulnerable against the elite teams this season as they have been in the past. Are they better going forward? Well, they've got Haaland, but not convinced that they're a more fluid attacking force than they were previously. So I don't think anything's changed in regards to City's prospects of winning the Champions League. Of course, they're going to be one of the favourites, but I see real flaws in them if you can get at their defence. And obviously the very best teams will get at their defences. Yeah, elsewhere, all of the leading contenders sort of faltering a little bit, which kind of leaves me with Bayern Munich, who were really, really professional during the group stage, weren't they? Obviously, they won home and away against Barcelona. They beat Inter home and away. They had a perfect phase 1, Bayern Munich. And they've got great strength in depth. They've got huge Champions League experience. And And I don't know, I'm just beginning to wonder, and Nagelsmann has sort of hit the post in this competition before. I just think this might be their time to shine. And obviously, if they can get through, one of the other reasons I'm flagging them at this price, which is 7.0, is that if they knock out PSG, and that's a big if, of course, but if they do, then that price will tumble and they won't be too far behind Manchester City, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's definitely a game to attack if you fancy either PSG or Bayern for sure, because if you get that coin flip in your favor, it's going to tumble in price, as Adrian touched on there. Miguel, you're heading over to Paris. I'm going to watch PSG Bayern. We'll touch on that, and that is one of your picks as well. But I want you to focus on your second pick, which jumped off the page at me here. It's I don't know if you've been watching football for the last 4 to 6 weeks, but Liverpool 12.5 to win the Champions League. Make the case.
Right. First, this has high potential to be odd Champions League season for the same reason we might be seeing across domestic leagues, because of the massive disruption of the World Cup and just how, even on a basic level, how that will mean the best teams won't be able to go on all fronts. So I have a bit of a suspicion this could go for basically the first time since the mid-2000s, which was also a period where the big clubs were adapting to changes to the fixture list and the calendar. And that saw a lot of teams that kind of finished 4th, 5th, 6th in their league go to distance in the Champions League. Liverpool did it in 04-05. Chelsea did it. Milan did it, as Mark's mentioned. And, of course, we had the last real big surprise winner in Porto. And I wonder, could this feed into the sort of season where it actually suits someone that isn't doing well domestically, the way that you see that transformation that happens. So just from that perspective, I think, I know their form's been so bad. I just have a little bit of an inkling of it. I mean, generally, I think I'll go with Adrian. Probably the team with the most baseline competence this year feels like it's Bayern Munich. But I think in a season where basically we should be primed for the unexpected, that there is maybe something in Liverpool.
Yeah, and look, their price before the competition started was 7.6, so that price has gone up. So it could be a little bit of value. Mark O'Hare, in the horse racing world, right, when Cheltenham anti-posts are very popular markets, and when someone tips up a horse at, say, 16.0, and then 3 weeks later you say, oh, I backed that horse at 16.0, he's now 20.0. You're known as a shrew in capital letters on the Twitter sphere. Tottenham Hotspur, 19.5 pre-tournament. They're now 22.0. And you tipped them up on 19.5, but you're going to go back in again at 22.0.
Whoa, he's picking Spurs. What's going on?
Picking Spurs, Adrian, yeah.
I can explain why. I mean, the guys have already sort of deconstructed the top end of the market. City are too short. They're that price for a similar reason why Napoli are as well, because two of their biggest rivals are going to exit the competition at this stage. They're playing Leipzig, which is not the walkover that the market suggests. That could be a really dangerous tie over 2 legs. I think obviously PSG Bayern is a bit of a knife edge game. Bayern are favoured by the market. I actually been a little bit stronger on PSG, which we'll get to. Liverpool, Real Madrid, for the same reason. We're going to lose one of those 2 teams. I can actually buy into Miguel's argument there on Liverpool. I agree with him. Key players coming back from injury as well in the next couple of weeks too. But obviously you've got to get past Real Madrid, who almost can never be beaten in this competition. We've touched on Napoli, then you get to Chelsea, and actually Spurs' form line is stronger than Chelsea. So the reason being, Tottenham are playing Milan in this last 16 tie, which I think is a passable offering for them. Obviously, when the draw was made in December, it looked a more stern opposition than they are going to get this time around. And if they were to get through, as I mentioned already, it's just luck of the draw, really. You could easily draw one of Club Brugge, Benfica, or Inter and Porto, and Spurs would be favourites to get through. Spurs would then be favourites to get to the semi-finals of the competition. So that 22.0 price will collapse quite significantly. And I know Conte's record in this competition is poor. I think sometimes that's sort of been made up to be a little bit stronger than it really should be. There's been sort of circumstances behind his poor form in this competition previously. And obviously losing Bentancur to injury at the weekend is a real massive blow too. But I think they've got the firepower to match most teams in Europe. I think the defence has showed improvements in recent weeks, bar Saturday against Leicester. And I think there's a ceiling there which they haven't quite hit yet. And if they were to sort of put it all together, this is a team who consistently get the better of, or at least match Manchester City, home and away. So if you can match the best team in the competition, why can't you do that against all the others? You're 22.0. That's a massive price for me. And look, we've had at least two English semi-finalists in 3 of the last 4 seasons. and 6 of the last 10 finalists in this competition have been Premier League teams as well. So if we think Man City are too short, Liverpool could easily be going out against Real Madrid. That's a very tough opponent. Chelsea are in a worse state than Spurs right now, and they've probably got a more difficult tie in the last 16 too. So, why the sort of snobby attitude towards Tottenham at 22? I'm only looking for an opportunity for a price which is going to not necessarily collapse, but contract at least in the next couple of weeks. And if Spurs were to get through against Milan, the draw gets you one side, then I'll probably try and exit at semi-final stage. But I just think they're a bit too big right now.